Well guys, I'm gonna be honest right now, this could potentially be the most controversial video that I do, and it's not even that bad. I'm not saying the moon's made of cheese or anything, but today I'm gonna talk about something that I've come to realize over this last year and a half of doing YouTube, and that guitar tone does not matter, alright? Let's get into it. This is my 2 cents. So what's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well. If you're catching this live on this Monday, happy Monday to you. My name's Ray, and I have an opinion. So I've been doing YouTube now for about almost 18 months. Just shy of that, I think. And I'm going to tell you a story. If you've been with me since the very beginning, back in March of 2017, you know this story, but I'm going to tell the new people here. So I am a recent Army veteran. I got hurt on deployment, and I had to have a shoulder surgery when I was back at Fort Benning, Georgia. I've since had another one since I got out, but that's a whole different thing. This is my first shoulder surgery, and that's when I decided to start YouTube. I had 30 days off from work, and I wanted to start my own YouTube channel. So I bought a PV6505 mini head and a 1x12 Mesa cab because I wanted to have a real tube sound, and I wanted to record myself in my bedroom in my house at Fort Benning, Georgia. But that didn't work out well because I had to keep it at low volumes, and if you look at my old recordings, you can tell that it's a tube amp because of just how crappy it sounds, and it sounded really bad. There's a lot of bleeding through, and I couldn't crank the amp, and therefore I couldn't get a good tone. So then I was like, alright, I'm gonna buy a Rivera mini rock wreck, and I'm gonna record it using a cab simulator. That didn't work well. I thought that sounded like garbage. Ice Cream Man by Van Halen, I used that technique with my PV5150. I thought it sounded like garbage, and I didn't like that. So then, it's like, alright, I gotta find tone. I didn't want to spend money on a Torpedo Live or Torpedo Studio, like the 2 notes with the cab simulators. Didn't want to spend money on that, so I invested in Bias Effects. Now, Bias Effects works really, really well. It sounds really, really killer, and it's a good little plugin for, 200 bucks, I think it is. I still wasn't that happy with it because it wasn't a real live thing, right? It wasn't like something I could physically grab. It wasn't like an amp where I could physically dial in stuff. So I wanted a piece of gear that would sound good. So I invested in the Axe FX2, which is sitting behind me. And that is what I use the most for my tones today. So that is just my journey of how I've gotten from using tube amps to plugins to the Axe FX. Now to this day, I use 3 things to create my tones. I use the stock Logic plugins, Bias Effects, and my Axe FX. And you can't really even tell the difference between what is what because they all sound relatively good to me. As I was going on through this journey, I'd go on YouTube and I'd look at tutorials on how to dial in a tone using this plugin or this product or this amp, whatever. And what I've come to find out is everything sounds almost the same, and tone doesn't matter. Now, disclaimer, tone obviously matters. You don't want to sound like garbage on purpose. You don't want to just have an absolute crap tone and then just run with it and not even care. Of course you want to put the time and effort into your craft and dialing your own tone. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying this whole quest for tone is so overlooked so overrated in my opinion. Guys like Eddie Van Halen, he's always on this tone chasing thing. He's always tinkering with stuff, and he always has to find the perfect tone. He's never satisfied. I'm a huge Eddie Van Halen fan, and I know all about his journey from dialing tones with all his different products, and you know the whole story with the Frankenstein Strat. Don't need to tell that story for today. But it baffles me because he created the 5150, and then he created his own EVH amps, and he's still creating more stuff, and it's what could possibly be different that makes it the necessity to continuously search for a guitar tone? And you see it all over the internet. Everybody's always doing tutorials with this new product, and it's just to me, it's just become this huge marketing thing where people are trying to pitch their products to make it sound almost exactly the same as the last thing. Like the Line 6 Helix versus the Headrush pedal board. They sound identical, man. The Axe FX versus Bias Effects. They sound the same. And I've come to realize that tone, the search for tone doesn't matter. You stick with what you like and you go with it. I'll give you an example of real life scenarios when people had crappy guitar tones and nobody cares because of who they are. And I'll give you some examples and recordings. First obvious one I can think of, and before I say this, it's rather blasphemous, these examples, but you'll see what I'm saying. First example, Randy Rhoads, Crazy Train. Horrible guitar tone. It's like, it's a classic song, it's an amazing song, yes, but the tone of that guitar is pretty crappy. I'm not talking badly about it, I'm not hating on it at all, I'm just being honest in my opinion. It's not fact, because I'm not stating facts here, I'm stating my opinion, but I think it can be argued that that song and that tone is pretty bad, man. Another example, Tosin Abasi in the first Animals as Leaders album, Tempting Time. After the intro part, when that kicks in, and even throughout that whole album, the distorted tone of his guitar, it sounds pretty bad, man. But know what? Nobody cares because he's Tosin Abasi and he rips and he's one of the best guitar players of all time. If not the best of all time. He's incredible. One final example, Cowboys from Hell. That guitar tone from Dimebag. It is unmistakable and recognizable, but like the internet standard of what a good guitar tone is, he disregards that completely. He's got all the bass up, no mids, and all the treble up, which is what the meme is of the metal community, like no mids, all bass, all gain, all treble. That's what he did, and that's what he got his tone using that. And now it's like a joke because we have to have this crushing guitar tone. Like, you look like, you YouTube how to dial in a tone, there's hundreds and hundreds of videos, and it's like, dude, they all sound the same, they all do the same thing. From whatever product, to whatever plugin, to whatever amp you use, they all sound the same. And that is my point. People are so like quick to hate on other people's guitar tones, but it's like, who cares, man? They sound the same. They sound the same. At this point in time in 2018, everything that is available on the market for how to get a guitar tone, whether it's a plugin or whatever, they all are amazing. It's not 2005 anymore when you got crate combo amps or line 6 amps and like they sound pretty bad. Like, everything is top notch and like the technology is there and it's amazing. But we still are arguing about like how to get this tone, and like we're constantly like searching for it and arguing about it, you know, the tone, and even go into like to the details of the woods. Like 95% of us, let's be honest, can't tell the difference between like a mahogany body and an alder body. Just blindfoldedly. Like, it's kind of like a shot in the dark. Some people probably can, but like it's not a definitive huge difference, and that again is just my point. It doesn't matter. So what does matter? Okay, so I've just gone on for these last 7-8 minutes, whatever, of just saying like, dude, this doesn't matter. So what does matter? What makes people stand out? It's obvious. They're playing. If Eddie Van Halen picked up a line 6 Spider and played an amazing solo, or Tosin Abasi played an amazing solo, guess what? Nobody would care because it's them and they're ripping. And they're not worried about getting this crushing, awesome guitar tone and playing power chords. You know what I mean? I'll give you an example of somebody who has an amazing tone in my opinion, but is one of the most hated humans in the music industry. If you've ever seen them live, or even listened to their studio, like Burn It to the Ground, that song is heavy and it rips. But because it's this guy again, nobody will give him the time of day. He's got an awesome tone, but nobody likes their songs. So again, tone doesn't matter. What matters is the song and your ability to convey a message to the listener. I still to this day struggle to not continuously buy plugins and go on sweetwater.com and look at all the latest software and gear and outboard gear, because like it's become a gimmick and a marketing gimmick for people to try to sell you their products and say this one is better than last year's model, or this plugin is better than this plugin. Like, it's all a marketing scheme, and it's starting to like rip people off basically, because they all sound the same with little subtle variants. that don't make a huge difference. If you can play, nobody will care how you get that sound. Just stick with what you know and what you like to use and go with it. The never-ending Chasing the Dragon guitar tone, it's like, it's a joke, man. There's not much difference between like a Diesel versus a 5150 versus a Randall, you know, Thrasher. Like, there's little subtle variants. Yes, they don't sound exactly the same but they sound very, very similar. And most of us that talk a lot of hate about most people that talk a lot of hate on the internet about somebody's tone doesn't even really know what they're talking about to begin with. So I just had to get that out there for you guys. If you love the chase tone, that is awesome. Like, good for, like that's awesome. Like, if that's like your niche and like your craft, if you like to like take things and dial it in, that's great. But this video is for the people who are like so quick to stomp on other people's necks about their guitar tone and saying it's terrible, or they use this versus that, and it becomes like just like this ball of hate on the internet. It's like, it doesn't matter what you use, man. They all sound sick nowadays, and just stick with what you like and go with it. So now that I've got that off my chest, I just wanted to make that video. Again, I'm not being negative or condescending to anybody who loves to fine tone and chase tone. This is for the people, again, that just don't understand that some people like to use certain things and don't realize that their negativity is unnecessary. So, what are your guys' opinion on what I just said? Do you disagree with me? Do you think like tone is like the #1 thing? Or do you think like just like having a good song or playing is more important? I would really like to hear your guys' opinion on it. I really have had this like epiphany when I'm spending my own money and getting offers from people to try out their stuff, that like I'm not into chasing tone anymore. I've found what I like. And as time goes on, yes, I will update stuff and, you know, renew what I use to get my guitar tones from, but I'm not sitting here dialing Axe FX patches for hours on end trying to find the perfect tone. I'm spending more time on writing and practicing, because after all, if you have a great guitar tone but you can't play for shit, who the fuck cares? You know what I mean? So, that's all I have to say, guys. Let me know your guys' opinion down below in the comments. Thank you so much for sticking around to this end of this video. If you want to support me, please hit that subscribe button. Links to all my social media links down below. As always, dudes, stay metal. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.